You're not angry anymore. At least that's what you tell yourself. You've moved on. You don't bring it up. You don't talk about it. You've gotten good at not thinking about it. Most of the time. But then a name comes up in conversation, and something tightens in your chest. Or you're lying in bed at 2 a.m. and the scene plays again. What they said, what they did, how it went down, and you're right back there like no time has passed at all. Or you realize that you've been waiting, not consciously, but waiting for an apology that hasn't come, for them to feel what you felt, for the universe to make it right somehow. And it hasn't, and they haven't. And you're still here, carrying something heavy that you've been carrying so long you've almost forgotten it doesn't belong to you. I want to talk to you today about that weight. Not about the person who put it there, not about whether they deserve forgiveness. That's not actually the conversation that's going to help you. This conversation is about you, about what this is costing you, and about how to actually put it down, not for them, but for yourself, for the life that is waiting for you on the other side of this. You are not alone in this, and there is a way through. Here's what nobody talks about when they talk about forgiveness. They talk about the other person, about what they deserve, about whether the wound was bad enough to justify it, about being the bigger person. But they don't talk about what carrying it is doing to you, right now, every day, in ways you may not even fully see yet. Unresolved bitterness doesn't stay contained. It spreads. It shows up in how quickly you get defensive with people who had nothing to do with what happened, in how hard it is to trust someone new when the old wound is still open underneath, in the low-grade exhaustion of carrying something heavy in a place you can't quite reach. It shows up in your body, tension you can't explain, a jaw that's always slightly clenched, sleep that never feels fully restful. It shows up in your future, in the opportunities you don't take because the last time you trusted someone, it cost you. In the relationships you keep at arm's length because you can't afford to get hurt like that again. You adapted to survive what happened. But some of those adaptations, the walls, the guardedness, the readiness for the next betrayal, are now costing you more than the original wound ever did. Marcus Aurelius, a man who was betrayed by people close to him, who governed an empire while absorbing constant attack, wrote this not for an audience, but for himself in private. How much more damage anger and grief do to us than the very things that caused them? He wasn't being philosophical, he was being practical. He had watched resentment hollow people out from the inside. He had felt it trying to do the same to him. And he kept coming back to the same truth. The event ended. The resentment continues. And the only person being damaged by that continuation is you. This is not your fault. What happened to you was real. The pain was real. You didn't choose any of that, but you are still here. And you deserve better than a life that keeps being shaped by something that already happened. If forgiveness is so clearly good for us, why is it so hard? Because somewhere along the way, we made a decision, maybe without even realizing it, that holding on was protecting us. The resentment became evidence, proof that what happened mattered, that you mattered, that it wasn't okay and you weren't going to pretend it was. To let go felt like agreeing that none of that was true, so you held on. And the longer you held on, the more it became part of how you understand yourself. The wrong became part of your story. The person who did it became a permanent character in your life, living in your head, taking up space, influencing your decisions, even if you never speak to them again. That is the part that should make you angry. Not at them, at the situation. They may have moved on. They may not think about it at all. They may have no idea the weight you're still carrying. And yet, they're still there, inside your mind, still costing you energy, still shaping your days. Epictetus, a man who was enslaved, who had every reason in the world to be consumed by bitterness, said this: "Men are disturbed not by the things which happen, but by the opinions about the things." What he meant was this: the event is over. What is continuing to hurt you is what you are telling yourself about it, the story, the replay, the meaning you've attached to it. And here is the hard and hopeful truth at the same time. If the suffering is coming from the story you're telling yourself, then you have more power here than you think. You cannot change what happened, but you have real power over what you do with it from here. Before we go further, let's clear something up. Because most people are resisting a version of forgiveness that isn't real, forgiveness is not saying what happened was okay. It wasn't. You don't have to pretend it was. Forgiveness is not reconciliation. You can forgive someone completely and never speak to them again. Those are two entirely separate decisions. Forgiveness is not forgetting. The memory stays. The lesson stays. The wisdom you earn from surviving it, that stays. What changes is the grip it has on you. Forgiveness is not something you do for them. It is something you do for yourself. There's a moment in Matthew 18 where Jesus tells a story about a servant who was forgiven an unpayable debt, tens of millions, and then immediately went and grabbed someone by the throat over a few dollars they owed him. Most people focus on the moral of that story. But there's something else in it. The servant who refused to forgive never moved forward. He was still defined by what he was owed, still circling the debt, still unable to build anything new because he couldn't put down what wasn't given back to him. The refusal to forgive kept him trapped, not free. That's the picture, not of power, of a person who cannot move because they will not release the claim. You were wronged. That is real. But you are not required to let that wrong define the rest of your life. This is the part that matters most. Not the philosophy, not the quotes, what you actually do with this, starting now. The first thing is to stop pretending you're fine. A lot of people reading this have convinced themselves they dealt with it. They didn't. They buried it. And buried things don't disappear. They grow roots. If there is still a name that tightens something in you, you haven't dealt with it. And that's okay. But be honest about it. With yourself first. Name what actually happened. Not the story around it, the actual thing, the actual person, the actual wound. You cannot heal something you won't look at directly. The second thing is to separate the person from the pain. This is what the Stoics practiced, distinguishing between what is outside your control and what is within it. What they did, outside your control, past, finished. What you do inside your own mind today, that is yours, entirely yours. You are not a passive victim of your own resentment. You have agency here. It may not feel like it yet, but you do. The third thing is to make a decision. Not a feeling, a decision. Forgiveness rarely arrives as a feeling first. It arrives as a choice, made before the feeling is there to support it. Made because you have decided that this person, this event, this wound, does not get to own one more day of your life. You may have to make that decision more than once. That's normal. The feeling catches up to the decision eventually, but the decision has to come first. The fourth thing is to redirect your energy toward what's ahead. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." The most powerful thing you can do, the thing that actually settles the score in a way resentment never will, is to build something remarkable with the life you have left. Not to prove something to them, for yourself. The person who hurt you does not get to be the reason your life stays small. I want to leave you with something real. Whatever happened to you, it was hard. Maybe it was one of the hardest things you've ever been through. Maybe you're still in it. Maybe the wound is recent, and everything in this video sounds easier than it actually is right now. I hear that. I'm not standing above this looking down. I'm talking to you from the middle of what it means to be human, where things happen that shouldn't, where people fail us, where we carry things we weren't supposed to carry alone. But I also know this, and I need you to hear it. You are stronger than what happened to you. The fact that you're still here, still searching, still trying to understand and heal and move forward, that's not weakness. That is one of the most courageous things a person can do. The life that is waiting for you, the one with more peace, more openness, more room for good things and good people, that life is real. It exists, and it is on the other side of putting this down. Not for them, for you. You've carried it long enough. You are not alone in this, and you are going to be okay. I'll see you in the next one.